they basically use silver iodide crystals. They're showing you exactly how it works. Hey guys, Rex here. So is weather modification like a crazy made up pretend thing? Or is that actually like a real thing? I am here to bring you rest on this issue because I see so many people arguing about something that's like just pretty much plain a fact one way or the other. Okay? So I'm surprised sometimes how even professional dudes, professional farmers, professional, scientists act like it's some kind of whack job conspiracy theory that they absolutely have a pretty good handle on weather modification. Okay. North Dakota has one of the oldest cloud modification projects in the world. We were one of the ones to spearhead that in the early 50s when I went to meteorology as part of my pursuit in education and university. We had the head of the cloud modification project from UND, University of North Dakota, that's kind of where it's based out of. And it's part of the North Dakota Water Commission. And he came in and they explained how they can suppress hail, they can enhance rain, they can turn the rain on and off, the thresholds of control they have for precipitation. And a lot of it is, the reason they got into it was hail suppression, particularly in the western part of the state. But does it exist? Absolutely 100% exists. It's not like us. There's no reason to argue, you guys. Plus, why would anyone argue about something like that anyways? If someone wants to believe that 18-wheeler trucks exist and the other guy doesn't, how should that affect you in your life? It shouldn't. People can believe whatever they want as long as they stay in their house with their crazy ideas, right? So what's the harm there, right? For more on that stuff, man, come join us on Patreon, where we train people how to focus on the more important things in life. However, I hope this is an entertaining and interesting discussion for those of you that are in the trenches on an issue that's so easy for me to settle, okay? So if there was people in my yard, which sometimes this happens, and they're visiting about topics like this, and they're trying to man, they're offering all this evidence that there must be some kind of weather modification. Evidence? There's a commission for it. You ready for this? I'm going to read to you, and I'll include the link below to the government website, the northdakota.gov website. That's the government for all the normies who just can't believe that scientists are trying to control the weather. Yeah. What the hell do you think the point of a science degree is? All scientists are trying to subdue nature by their own understanding of the word subdue. By the way, which is different than what the book says. The book, when he tells, man, Adam, to subdue the earth, it does not mean what the scientists think. When they hear the word subdue in English, they have a whole, conquer it. Force it to do what you want it to do. Force it to do unnatural things. And lo and behold, when you force perfectly balanced, ordained systems, when you force them to operate outside their parameters that were established by God in the beginning, it might get all screwed up. Is that possible? And when you try to force plants to grow where they don't want to grow, and force plants that do want to grow there not to grow there, that are actually more nutritious than the ones you're growing, it could be a problem. Did that ever occur to anybody? All right, so here is the website. You ready for this? Right there. See that? That is swc.nd.gov. Okay? So the North Dakota Cloud Modification Project. That's a picture of an airplane doing quote unquote chemtrails. What's the matter, Rex? Do you believe in chemtrails? A little cuckoo in the Capacirex? You need us, like, what do you think, there's lizard people? No, they're not lizards putting chemtrails, although they're using their lizard brain. Okay, you ready for this? Cloud modification project. This is just purely entertainment for me, okay? Like playing the guitar, anything else. That's why I'm posting this video primarily, and there's a lesson here. The North Dakota Cloud Modification Project, NDCMP, is an operational program that seeds clouds for hail damage reduction and rain enhancement in western North Dakota. Counties participating in the program include Bowman and parts of Slope counties. Okay, so there's an airport down here. I used to work where I drove past that every day, and you see them loading up the plane. They got big booms on the planes, kind of like it looks kind of like a sprayer, but it's actually got flares in it. I know one of the guys who worked at the flare factory back in the 90s. They have a full-time factory making flares because they do this every day, all day, most of the year round, to turn on the rain, to turn off the rain. Now, can they flip it on and off like a light switch? No. But they can really, with a very strong amount of significance, adjust when and where it's going to start raining and by how much. They can suppress stuff a huge amount. I'm talking 40%. They can adjust. Now, the unseen effects from an environmental science point of view could be argued that when you throw natural systems off, even by a few percent, that there's also, if assuming that there was some sort of intelligent design behind all things that are in flow and balance. Like if you cause a hiccup in a machine, it's going to compound, and think of the weather as a machine, like the natural weather, right? You got your ocean currents, and they have a cycle they go through. And if you all of a sudden screw this deal up, it can't get that, it just gets crazy. That's my colloquial, humorous commentary on the, someone should do an actual study on that. Like, okay, what exactly was the weather patterns before we started messing with it? And then what kind of strange anomalies did we experience when we threw monkey wrenches into all the gears every day? I'll tell you why I think there is a push in a minute. I'll tell you why I think there's a push to like make fun of people that understand that there's the North Dakota Cloud Modification Project on the state government website. What are you, crazy, Rex? You believe that the state government is not lying? What? The North Dakota Cloud Modification Project, and so it has the counties there. Here's a map. They have a map of exactly where the planes are flying right now, and they have it like a daily log. It's public information because it's taxpayer funded. Weather modification authorities. The creation and operation of a county weather modification authority is authorized under North Dakota Century Code Chapter 61-04.1. The county commission appoints members who serve on the weather modification authority for that county. The following are authority members for active weather modification authorities in North Dakota. So their names are on the website. Okay. So it's public information. Weather Modification Association. So they have all this stuff. Warm season, cloud seeding science. So they basically use silver iodide crystals. They're showing you exactly how it works. Right there. See that? Airplane. See that? Chemtrail. No, do they call it a chemtrail? Well, it's a trail of chemicals. They call it seeding, cloud seeding. And this is not the only program that exists. There's a bazillion of them now that they're figuring out how to do it so well. So there's a map of the U.S. where they admit it, and that's not the secret ones, and that's not the ones where they just mix stuff willy-nilly into the jet fuel as part of other international agreements. That stuff is maybe a little more on the edge. Why would people have disinformation campaigns surrounding this issue, you might ask? Well, you see, us humans, when we are so filled with hubris and think that when we were given the responsibility to take care of the earth, which is what the word in the book actually means when it says subdue the earth, it's the same word used for footstool or lamb. It has connotations towards like authority and a peaceful coexistence of something that is managed properly, like a shepherding kind of deal. It doesn't say to choke it and body slam nature into the ground and try to win against nature. Man versus nature. The fight goes on. A documentary for school children. Okay, hold on a minute. Dude, it's funny, I rant about this all the time on Patreon with other topics. But when man thinks he's God and you start screwing around with stuff, don't be surprised that maybe sometimes it doesn't work exactly like you want. Don't even get me started on plants. I learned a lot in the last 2 years on plants from a mentor who knows a lot about that stuff. And I was like, man, are we crazy? All this, it's like the kid that insists he's not wrong, and he keeps going more and more in the wrong direction, trying to prove that he's not wrong, wrecking more and more stuff. You ever know somebody like that? I have. Called everybody. Why would they create a public smear campaign against people who acknowledge the existence of government and state sanctioned, not top secret, totally public cloud modification programs? Why would that happen? Why would they cover that up? Well, as part of another one of my university studies, and as part of one of my jobs, you come to realize there is a lot of lawsuits against freaking entities that are changing the weather. Because ski resorts, I don't know if you guys know this, they'll pay certain cloud modification companies to have it snow more on the ski resort. Because that's how they make money. And if there's not enough snow, they'll buy snow. They'll take this cloud and put stuff in it. You know how it works? It's very simple. So you have clouds, you have droplets of water inside clouds, and they're all floating around, right? Okay, and you have updrafts and big storm systems, like when you get cumulonimbus clouds. Once the particles start to coalesce and rub together, they stick together, because water likes to do that in chemistry. And then they form larger and larger droplets until they're too heavy that the updraft can't do it, and they'll come down as rain or snow or hail or whatever, right? Depending on the temperatures. Well, if you want to make the clouds rain more slow and pause, you can put pause on the rain over a huge area by putting in all very uniform particulates that encourage the droplet sizes to be constant. So now all the little water droplets, and it's simply what kind of smoke are you putting into the cloud to seed it. Okay, so you put smoke into the cloud or to an area that is generating clouds. And if all the particulates are the same deal, they all go up together and they all come down together. They're not going at differential speeds to where they're going to collide as much and coalesce as fast. So if you want to suppress a rain system as long as possible, you can say, hey, hold on a minute here. I know there's a drought over here for these farmers, but our ski resort, which is on the other side of the farmers, the cloud needs to get there first. Then we want it to rain. So pay the airplane to make the cloud not rain over huge areas. Now, do you see lawsuits? If people knew that happened all day since before they were born, who's going to sue the cloud? Well, if you think that it's just natural processes, then you can't sue the cloud. But if you understand that people are messing with the clouds, then there's lawsuits. So then you hire agents, and lobbyists will hire the news and pop culture to make the idea of weather modification look crazy, to make fun of people who would be aware that that exists so that they don't get sued, because they make a lot of money doing that. Okay. Now, if you want it to rain, you introduce different size particulates, which encourage different size particles. So some are smaller particulates, some are larger, to gather together faster. Now you have water of varying size particles that are going to hit each other and rub together really fast because of their density differences and their size differences. Now they're making the big enough droplets to where they fall out of the sky. So you can switch on the rain by putting certain recipe into the air, or you can pause the rain by putting this recipe into the air. And how much? When the guy came and did a presentation to us, he showed us the numbers. It was a very significant number. And if you do with like modeling, one could only imagine what kind of control you would have through the dynamic application in different systems that are going to collide. There's a lot of different, if you're creative and smart and you can model this stuff, there's a lot of different ways you can get the clouds to do what you want them to do. And that's not like top secret laser beams on the moon controlled by lizard people and UFOs blasting the cloud with infrasonic undulation and all this different. I mean, maybe that exists too, but they don't need to do that. They've been doing this since my dad was a baby in the early 50s. I think it started in 1950 or 51 in North Dakota for the Cloud Modification Project. So, that's you think about it in one of our environmental WASP classes that I did in university, and talked about the ski resorts suing the farmers and the farmers suing the ski resorts, or one county sues the other county because they're going to drought, or a state will sue another state. So there's federal jurisdiction when how does the cloud, we studied this for okay, who's responsible when the cloud starts in Colorado and then moves over to Nebraska? Now who's is that a federal case, or how do you go about that? And we went through all the cases where they're doing that all the time. So there's enough people who are in the know who are hey, wait a minute, that's our cloud. If God would have let the cloud rain, if you just let him do his thing, then it would have rained here, but you stole our cloud. Cloud stealing. Yeah, pretty funny, right? So, how do you like that? It's totally a fact. Undeniable fact. You can drive to the airport. I've seen cloud spraying stuff up close thousands of times because I drove past that airport every day when I used to work down there. And they loading up the plane because they're flying all the time. So, don't get drawn into fruitless, silly discussions and debates wherein there's no merit. That's wisdom. You can rest assured that your brother Rex understands that, yes, it is indeed true that people are still violating God's program and trying to wrestle nature to do what they want it to do. Just like we twisted on the most intimate levels all of creation in its life force. Don't even get me started on corn on the cob or potato farming and what they do with that. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff and indication. We talk about that a lot. I don't want to get into it here because the algorithms don't like it. But for full exposition on those issues and how nature has just been totally twisted through witchcraft, and why, one thing that's silly in retrospect, now that I kind of see how stuff was designed to be, one thing that is silly is when people on huge scales can't feed themselves anymore. Why? They're walking past, how can you possibly have massive, huge piles of people die from lack of food when they're living right in between huge, beautiful, all sorts of a diversity of all sorts of nutritious stuff right around them? Because we were trained by the bad powers in the world not to recognize the Garden of Eden that is still programmed to generate all around us. Those permies ain't all that crazy after all. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, especially industrial people into the industrial aspect of it. That's their job is factory farmed now, right? They don't like to hear that, but God's system does all this automatically. And if we had a relationship with his systems, and a mentor put it so beautifully, where we don't have a relationship, we try to exert control. And that's when we screw up. Just like with anything else, you don't have a relationship. Now you're trying to force control. And so, by our own folly, are we toiling in the soil? And that was probably the main reason we got kicked out of the garden. You're going to wreck it. You're going to wreck it, you crazy people. You think now you want to do it by your own invented knowledge? Oofta, you're going to destroy it all. You're not allowed. I'm putting an angel in front of this garden with an M249 flaming sword edition to guard this place. You're not allowed in here anymore. What are you going to do to it? Go outside and toil in the soil. Very revealing. For a continuation of that discussion, join us on Patreon. By the way, I forgot to mention, guys, we have the writing contest, right? The survival writing contest on Patreon. Very good chance to win that if you're on there. I got like oh man, what is it now? 2,000, or I can't remember how many people are in Patreon. And I only have like a couple entries into the competition. All you have to do is write 1,000-word paper on survival from a fresh perspective on survival to enter and to win that thermal scope, right? So I got a thermal scope that's like a really, really cool scope. And everyone, it's funny. I got more complaints in the comments about like, wow, geez, like, you want us to do you want us to write something? You want us to write something on your Patreon to be able to win? Wow, that's just, I'm not doing it. You could have spent your time, rather than writing hate mail about having to write, you could have used those brain cells to write why you like survival stuff and then submitted that on a PM and then win the thermal. You crazy goofballs complaining on typing on stuff I want to give you. Well, the only reason you probably want us on Patreon, Rex, is because you like to get paid. What is your job? That's my service. All right, who here works at a job? Raise your hand. Okay, you're allowed to go onto Patreon because you're not a communist. If you raised your hand because you have a job. All of you guys that are complaining about people at jobs, well, you probably only worked at the steak place because you want to get paid for steak. You didn't even want to give me a free steak, did you? Go to Russia. Go to Russia or wherever the hell, I don't know, is that where do the communists live now? Oh, I forgot, here. That's just great. America's more communist now than Russia. What's the world coming to? Complaining about people who are productive and helpful. You're probably only playing guitar at this wedding for money, Rex. Yeah, I know. The hell would I play guitar at a wedding for free for? What are you, crazy? Oh, everyone's kids has to not get fed because their parents shouldn't do work for the money. It's funny, right? So I drank coffee and I thought I'd share all of my most deep thoughts with you on this fine day. And if you want to join that thermal raffle contest thing, it's not a raffle. All you have to do is write a survival paper and then submit it to me on Patreon. And then you can win that thing, okay? So I'll share the details below. I'm going to post it on Patreon too, the full details of the writing contest. It's actually on there already. But if you want the thermal, then you can do that. But if you want to complain instead, then just do that. Type in the comments how Rex is bad because he wants to give you a thermal, but you have to type letters for a minute. And that you have to demonstrate you're responsible enough with your brain to be able to put down coherent thoughts on a paper. Did you know that's Rex's version of a 4473? Are you crazy and dumb and shouldn't have a thermal scope? Or are you an articulate, loving person who wants to support life and you should have a thermal scope? Well, rather than political BS filling in the little boxes, I just want you to demonstrate that you are in fact a real human. You know what I mean? The Filters series on Patreon, telling you how to filter out crazy people from good ones. Another great series over there. You click on the little box that says Filters, Filters, right? Filters, yeah. It's an acronym explaining which kind of humans to stay away from. Yeah. So hopefully that's entertaining for you guys. May the force be with you all. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go and eat a cookie. Okay, Rex out.